Roger Waters remembers the day Pink Floyd split as a moment that felt both inevitable and shocking. For years, tension had been building between him and David Gilmour, but no one expected it to collapse so suddenly. Roger says he felt boxed in, creatively exhausted, and angry that the band no longer followed his vision. David, on the other hand, believed Pink Floyd worked best when everyone contributed equally. Their visions clashed again and again until it exploded. In interviews, Roger has said he walked out believing he was saving himself. He didn't realize he was breaking the band forever. But David saw it differently. He felt betrayed. Fans didn't know it then, but Pink Floyd's future changed in a single, heated moment, and neither man would recover from it. From the beginning, Roger and David were never truly close friends. They respected each other, yes. They needed each other, absolutely. But friendship? Not really. The band's early days were full of excitement, but also quiet competition. Roger wanted control. David wanted balance. As years passed, these differences grew sharper. When Syd Barrett left the band, Roger stepped into the leadership role, but David became the musical heart. This silent fight for identity shaped everything they later clashed about, and the crack that formed between them, it never healed. When Pink Floyd made The Wall, fans saw a masterpiece. But inside the band, it was chaos. Roger took almost full control of the project. David contributed, but felt pushed aside. Some band members said Roger treated Pink Floyd like his personal project. Roger saw himself as the only one capable of holding the band together. David felt insulted and ignored. Every meeting became a war. Every recording session felt like a test of power. The album was brilliant, but the price was a broken brotherhood. By 1983, things were worse than ever. Roger wanted to end Pink Floyd. David refused. The two men could barely sit in the same room. When the final cut came out, even fans felt something was wrong. Roger called it a masterpiece. David called it a Roger Waters solo album. The move that ended everything came when Roger told the band's management he was done, and believed the band should be done too. David felt Roger had no right to decide that. The war officially began. When Roger left, he believed Pink Floyd would stop. But David shocked the world. He continued the band without Roger. Roger responded with a lawsuit, saying Pink Floyd was his idea and his creation. David argued the band belonged to all of them. The legal fight lasted months and destroyed any hope of peace. Even after courts ruled that Pink Floyd could continue without Roger, the emotional damage was permanent. After the lawsuit, Roger and David barely spoke. When they did, it was usually through interviews, and often sharp ones. Roger called Pink Floyd, without him, a cheap imitation. David said Roger's ego was unmatched. Fans hoped time would soften things. But every new comment reopened old wounds. The rivalry grew into something bigger than music. It became personal. In 2005, something unbelievable happened. Pink Floyd reunited at Live 8. Fans cried. The world thought Roger and David finally forgave each other. But behind the scenes, the tension was still there. They only reunited for charity, not because they wanted to repair their relationship. Roger later said David was cold. David said Roger was impossible. The reunion was magic on stage, but not in real life. In interviews, Roger often returns to the day he left Pink Floyd. He says he was scared, angry, and tired. He admits he made mistakes, but he also believes David never understood him. To Roger, that day was a moment of escape. To David, it was a moment of abandonment, and that is why the wound still exists. David rarely speaks about the split, but when he does, his words show the hurt. He believes Roger pushed the band into darkness. He thinks Roger treated the others unfairly, and he cannot forgive how Roger tried to shut the band down. David has said he left and then tried to take everything with him. That sentence explains everything. There were moments when both men tried to reconnect. Coffee meetings, phone calls, even small collaborations. But every time, old disagreements returned. Their personalities simply clash. Roger is intense, loud, emotional. David is calm, private, guarded. Two brilliant minds, but unable to exist peacefully together. Not even age softened it. Today, both men are in their late 70s. Fans still dream of one final reunion. But the truth? It probably will never happen. Roger says he's ready to forgive. David says there's nothing to talk about. The split of Pink Floyd wasn't just business. It was heartbreak. It was ego. It was fear. It was two men who once relied on each other, but grew too far apart to ever return. And that is why Pink Floyd's story remains one of the greatest musical tragedies of all time. When Pink Floyd split, the world didn't just lose a band. Fans were forced to pick a side. Some supported Roger, believing he was the true visionary behind the band's greatest albums. Others stood with David, saying he was the real musical soul, the voice that lifted the band's sound into something timeless. This silent war among fans made everything worse. Roger felt betrayed when many fans embraced the new Floyd albums without him. David felt hurt when people said the band had no meaning without Roger's lyrics. What neither man admits openly is this: the split didn't just divide the band, it divided millions of people who loved them, and that global tension kept the rivalry alive long after the legal battles ended. Even today, whenever Roger or David releases new music, the old debate returns. The world still sees them as two halves of a broken masterpiece, forever compared, forever connected, forever divided. There is a painful truth that both men acknowledge quietly. Pink Floyd's most powerful years ended the moment they could no longer create together. Fans often imagine what albums could have existed if Roger and David had somehow found common ground. A follow-up to The Wall made by both, a 90s Floyd album with Roger's storytelling and David's soaring guitar. Even a late reunion album that blended their older, wiser perspectives. But those dreams never became real. Instead, both men created strong solo work, but without that magical balance they once shared. Roger's lyrics remained sharp and political, but the warmth of David's guitar was missing. David's music stayed emotional and beautiful, but it lacked Roger's dramatic storytelling. They were opposites who completed each other, and once separated, the music world felt the loss. It's a sadness Roger has admitted. It's a regret David rarely speaks about, but undeniably feels. Today, Roger Waters and David Gilmour live very different lives. They tour separately. They release music separately. They communicate only through management or public statements. But no matter how far apart they are, their story refuses to end. Every documentary, every interview, every article brings one question back. Can they ever forgive each other? Roger says he wants peace. David says he's moved on. Yet both still talk about the past. Both still defend their side. Both still carry emotional scars. Pink Floyd was more than a band. It was a battlefield of genius, and the world will always remember the brilliance they created together and the tragedy that tore them apart. Their legacy is not just the music. It's the warning. Even legends can break. Even icons can fall apart. And sometimes, no matter how much time passes, forgiveness remains out of reach.